All right. So thank you guys. I'm excited. I get to share. Well, let me share my screen first. Talk to you guys about Kapost and what it is, and how I think how you guys are gonna support the marketing managers and um, from that. So let me know when you're able to see my screen.
Ready.
All right, I'm just gonna do this. All right. So first things first, let me just give you an overview. I'm sure you've heard Kapost mentioned a lot, and everybody's like, well, why can't I have access? And I want access if everything's in Kapost. So the issue really is, and the reason it's been a little bit of a challenge is the licenses for Kapost are not cheap. They're roughly they're 198 US dollars per license per month. So that's over $2,000, if you will, over the course of the year, and per person. So that it's expensive. So one of the things that I was working out with Ron and the geo marketing managers was how to give the geos at the TTMs access, because you guys do a lot. You guys support your marketing managers and Lisa and Zainab when it comes to webinars and maybe reviewing content and things like that. And since it's all done in Kapost, we thought, well, let's try this where we share a license, which we sell software, so I'm sure you could. It's probably not the best way to go about giving everybody or giving access to Kapost, where I'm saying share one license among a handful of people. But we'll try it out for a little while, see how it goes, and then maybe we can justify increasing that license count later. So what that means is if one of you is in Kapost and somebody else wants to get in and tries, one of you is going to get booted out. So I suggest, communicating who's in, who's out, or helping each other in that way. Unfortunately, there's no workaround for that at this point. It's just one of those things that we're just going to have to deal with. And if it becomes an issue, we can certainly see maybe giving 2 licenses per geo, and we'll see how that goes. But let's try and navigate the one, knowing a little bit about what the nuances are going to be for it. So with that, I'll jump right in and just give you a basic overview of what Kapost is and how we're using it. And if
Alison,
yeah.
Sorry, I have a question before you go on.
Go.
Regarding the fact that we have, we basically we can get in only one time per person. Is there any possibility that someone locks
No.
the login, so it stays there for days? We don't know.
That, to be honest, I'm not clear how that's gonna work, because I haven't had to face that. So there are a couple of people who have shared their license in EuroMed, for example, and they boot each other out. That's really what happens. So like if you're in and then Lisa or whoever, somebody tries to go in as well, it's gonna bump the other person out. So the username that was set up and the password that's set up, that's what you guys should all use. And it should, because you're gonna have to log in each time, somebody's gonna get bumped. So
okay, thank you. Clear.
No problem. And I'm sorry, so I tend to talk fast, so please just do what you just did by interrupting, saying I don't get it, or I want to keep this interactive and I want to make sure I answer all your questions. So if something isn't clear, please just yell and I will stop, I promise. Okay, so basic marketing or basic Kapost. It's an operation system. I use platform a lot, but I know that's sort of a taboo word in our culture, primarily because if I mention that and our CIO at Tissot gets wind, there's a lot of eyes on what we're doing right now. So, but it is an operating system. Think of it as, we want to accelerate revenue. We want to make sure you hear this, I'm sure, all the time, where we want the right content to the right customer at the right time. And Kapost really allows us to do that, because we're collaborating on content, but we're also making sure that we're reusing content. So we're not just creating once and then forgetting about it. Kapost really allows for us to repurpose what we're doing. So when you look at what I'm going to show you, is there are 4 areas in Kapost, and so looking at a strategic perspective and aligning on the marketing objectives and goals and how they align to sales and what campaigns and content support those strategic initiatives, we want to make sure we're all aligned. And when we look at how we then move the needle and look at how we're collaborating on the content, so creating it, iterating on it, and making sure we finalize on the final piece, we're really doing that in a collaborative way. And then you move even further, and we want to make sure we're giving people access to it. So the use of being able to publish that content on our YouTube channels, or making sure the blog is on our WordPress blog, or ensuring that it's facilitated on the web, or we're communicating to get an email out the door. That's really giving access to a lot of different people. And then looking at, okay, so we've executed the content, and then looking at, okay, well, how do we measure that? So that we have a lot of tools. There's multiple tools. Kapost allows us to analyze what we've got within the platform, and then how we're able to measure that on the execution areas, or where we're publishing content to. So if you look at that alignment, collaboration, accessibility, insight, there are 4 distinct areas in Kapost that allows us to do that. We have Canvas, which I'm not going to spend a ton of time, if any, on this call, because primarily where we need to focus your time is on Studio, and that's probably 100% right now where you're going to be spending your time supporting Zainab and Lisa from a marketing perspective. I don't know if you might be aware, but Brian Zayas and his team creating digital content, and I'm sure you guys help support that efforts as well. They're in here a lot too. They're putting a lot of their video content and things in there, so there's an opportunity to get more collaborative with them on what they're doing, and making sure we're providing sales and enablement materials as well in here. When we look at accessibility, we have the use of the gallery. Today, the gallery is allowing us to share content. Right now it's in English. My goal for 2019 is to expand that to all languages, but we need to make sure that everybody's doing the right thing in Kapost at the studio level to ensure we can then move things to the gallery level. And what that means is today, if you go into the VAR desktop, we have an English gallery available in the marketing area. And so that's essentially pulling everything from Kapost that we're working on in Studio once published, and giving sales and technical and VARs access to the content in a very organized and easy way to find it. Because as you know, I'm sure the VRC is a little bit of a nightmare to navigate and find things. The gallery allows for us to embed what we're doing in Kapost into the VRC to give it a very easy way to find content. So more to come on that, but everything that we do in Studio really plays into allowing us to do what we need to do in the gallery. So they go hand in hand. And then of course in the area of analytics, we'll be setting up dashboards and things by geo to really look at what we're able to do at a content and execution level. Again, we don't have anything currently set up in these areas because we just merged instances where we brought everybody into the same one. So there'll be more coming within the first half of the year on the analytics side as well. And then underlying all that, which is super important, is tagging, or what I like to say is taxonomy. So we have custom fields in Kapost that allow us to sort and slice and dice content to be able to find what it is we need when we need it and to who. So is it, is it a piece of content that supports PDM or manage? And is it directed towards, our, and who is it directed to? What specific job function does that support, or what industry does that support? So tagging is sort of the underlying piece of everything that we're doing in Kapost. So that's a basic overview of what this allows us to do. We've been in Kapost for about 4+ years now. The Geo's 3. And we've gotten better with it. So now my goal is to start bringing everybody individually or other teams into it to help support the effort. Are there any questions at all at this point on what Kapost is and why we need your help? All right.
That's fine for me.
Great. I'm going to switch gears now and start presenting Kapost. So let me know when you can see my screen that shows Kapost.
We can.
Great. Okay, so when you log in, this is the home screen in which you're going to be seeing. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time on where everything is and how to navigate things. So the one thing I asked before this took place was to make sure that you set up the inbox that we set up, that where that email is going to, where any email coming from Kapost is going to go. And that inbox, one of the things I'm working on, because I didn't realize it was going to be set up as an inbox, and tell me if you think where I'm going with this. I would like to have set that up as a distribution. So whenever it's at mention, rather than go to a separate inbox, it would go and distribute to all of you or to the list. And then whoever's you can set up a rule in your current inbox, and then whoever's working on whatever piece of content or support that you're providing to Lisa or Zeynep could be the one that goes in and responds. But right now it was set up as an inbox, so unfortunately it's a separate area that I think you'll have to, each of you, look at some point to see what's coming through. But hopefully you guys got that set up. I saw that you accepted the license invite, so that's great. So I'm going to talk a little bit about setting up notifications and your profile and things like that. So when you come in, this is obviously what you'll see. And in the upper right-hand corner where it says my name, if you click on that and click View Profile, it's going to bring you to where you can look at and edit your profile. So this will probably say nothing, or it'll be the email address in which you are to sign up with. So if you click Edit Profile, this is where you update your information. So you've got personal information and email notification settings. So what I would suggest is the name, I would say EuroMed TTM team or something along those lines, so it's easy, because this is how we'll @mention you. So it would be easier if you change it, because right now it probably says your email address. You can put a photo if you want something to represent your team. You can just enter in, the team name, etc. This is where you would change your email and account password. Please don't change the email. So that email is for everybody, again, to access. If you need to change the password, again, you're going to have to let the entire team know, because you are sharing it. That said, there's really nothing else here. The only other thing is that because you're sharing it, I wouldn't suggest connecting any connections here to this. But you'll see you could. Up in the upper top where it says email notifications, I want to spend a few minutes on this area. So this will be how frequently you get notifications sent to the inbox, right? So let's start with the daily and weekly digest settings. So the daily and weekly digest settings are really a culmination of everything that you'll be working on, or that everybody in the team will be supporting Lisa on. So if you expand this out, you can get notifications either daily, weekly, or never at all. So I would suggest you keep these on as daily. They will go out at 4 p.m. local time daily, or weekly it'll go out on Fridays at 4 p.m. local time. And what it is it's around the status of content. So it's anything that and data around tasks, comments, or anything that you're following. And they're sent to either the owners of content or the followers of content. So again, I would have this set as more, and then you can always dial it back if you're like, oh my God, there's too much and I can't keep anything straight. But this will be, if you're working on 10 pieces of content, it'll be one email that will give you a summary of what's going on. And again, it will go out daily, weekly, or never at all. The next one's around tasks. It's the same idea. So again, this would be if you're working on 10 pieces of content and you've got tasks that are due, either they're classified as either upcoming, current, or overdue, you're going to get a summary email that'll outline where everything is. And again, those go out daily or weekly at 6 a.m. local time. So you'll either get it weekly on Mondays at 6, or you'll get it just daily at 6 a.m. And again, you can have it go both as well. Again, I get a gazillion emails, so I have this set at never. I suggest setting it to either daily or weekly, and then again, you could always dial back if it's too much, which is how I got to where I am right now. So the other one, email alerts and notifications. I'm an admin, so these are all selected. Quite frankly, I'm not sure what you're able to see here, but the one that you should have checked in this case is the one that says send an email when Kapost has a service update. Otherwise, you don't need to have any of the other ones selected. The next one is the most important one. So you should always have, this is based on new conversations and app mentions. So a best practice for us in Kapost, and I'll talk to you more about this, is the way we communicate is through what we call app mentions. And basically what that is think of it as Twitter, where you're on Twitter and you have an @ and then you type in your username and you're sending somebody something. That's exactly what it is within Kapost as well. So when you've been app mentioned, that's going to generate an email that's going to be sent to that inbox. So if Lisa's working with you and she needs you to upload something or review something, she's going to app mention the EuroMed TTMs, and she's going to direct it and say, to one in particular, she might say, Marco, please review this piece of content. And then if everybody's looking at that email, they're going to be like, oh, well, I don't need to care about this because this is directed to Marco. And Marco will come in, look at it, etc. So please make sure that in the EuroMed one, TTM license, it says send an email when you've been app mentioned. That's key. The other one on the right is send an email when a user comments on a discussion you've been alerted on. So what that means in Kapost is if you aren't involved in any of the content, but you select, there's a button on each piece of content that says, say I'm working on a data sheet and you're like, you want to know what the status is going to be, or you want to know what the conversation is around that data sheet. You could select in that piece of content, I want to be alerted on it. If this is checked off, then you're going to get all the notifications that come with that individual asset. It could be overwhelming. So I'm just warning you now. But again, entirely a user preference. The only one I asked to be selected is this one here on the left where it says send an email when you've been app mentioned. The last one is around tasks. So this is, I don't have them selected. That's probably bad. But this is really important for Lisa and Zainab, is if you want the guys to have accountability or to know that they've got a task, then you need to make sure you're assigning them the task with a date. Because this is what will help, is that this will, if these are checked, send an email when content has been submitted and your task is next. Or the other one is send an email when a task is done and your task is next. What this will do is, having this checked off, this then will give you an alert saying you're up next, you're, with the task name, with the piece of content that says you need to upload or review XYZ asset. So that's what these tasks mean. Is there any questions on email notification settings and what everything means? No? Okay. All right, so from here, you click into the little, on the upper left-hand side, this little home, this little icon of the home. That'll bring you right back to the home screen. So as I mentioned, there are, so let me take you around sort of the area here. Canvas is what I talked about from a strategic perspective and how we align on our marketing objective, how we align on the sales objectives from maybe a marketing perspective. This would be in Canvas. You guys aren't going to be spending much time here, if at all, so I'm not going to even jump into this area. Studio is where you always log into. Again, this is probably where you're going to be spending 100% of your time. You won't need to look at anything else. So this is Studio, where all the work and all the communication and everything is really done. Gallery is, as I mentioned, this is where we can publish content into what we call collection groups. So if we had all these white papers around launch, or we had all these case studies, we would be able to publish these to the gallery and give visibility to other groups, those who don't have a license to Kapost. Again, the objective is we do everything right in Studio, and then we get to the point where we can start creating those collections for the EuroMed in the gallery. And then the last one is insights. So how do we measure everything that's happening within Kapost? We can look at external data coming in from and pulling in from our blog. We can also look at production timelines and things internally as a team. That's in insights. Again, you're not going to spend any real time here. So the next one, if I'm pushing over to the far right, this little notification bell here, these are notifications that are, happening, or if I'm involved in things here that you want to see where your notifications are. You can look and see all notifications, but this is a quick way to see, well, what's going on and where do I need to pay attention. That's that little bell here. The little I is really important too. This is the Kapost Help Center. So if you have a question, you can always go to the Help Center, and you can always reach out to Lisa or Zainab. They'll help you. And if they don't know the answer, then you can always come and reach out to me. But this is a good resource as well if you're looking to be able to do something, how to generally do it. You can source, the forum, etc. So this is a really good resource. The next one I'm going to select on is SolidWorks and branding. I try to keep this up to date as much as possible. This little icon brings you here, and this is where I put all of the, brand guidelines and things that are important. That if you're working with vendors, you can always have them go here if they have a license. But you've got fonts in here, you've got the logos in here, you've got the short intros and outros for video in here, any tone of voice, writing instructions, the new collateral template, the SolidWorks launch with title slide bumpers for 2018, all listed here. These are easy. You can download them and have access. When in doubt, the most recent, up-to-date, and current area for branding is this branding.solidworks.com. This is a resource if you're looking for the latest and greatest. The production team internally makes sure that all of what I'm putting here is definitely current. There might be something missing. So when in doubt, this is a great resource. You have to, put in your username. You have to, register, and they'll give you access there. So this is where you can find guidelines and templates and things like that. Again, that little I. This little search button, this allows you to search for everything in Studio. So if you're looking for something specific, SolidWorks 2019, you can see what comes up, different things in content. You'll look at initiatives and different ideas. This is a quick way. If you're looking for specific keywords, this is where it's looking. It's looking in all of that. So search is a good tool. Again, it's only going to be as good as Lisa or Zainab or any of us make sure we're filling out custom fields, keywords, etc. This is in English, just the platform itself is in English, but you are able to put keywords in local language, things like that, obviously in local language. So there. Next, so I'm going to jump out of here. I'm going to go back to the home screen real quick. Are there any questions so far? No? Okay. I will keep going. So then next, so again, when you fill out your profile, you'll see your name, everything listed here where mine is. Recently viewed is anything you've looked at will show up in here so you can get quickly access content. Your initiative, so one of the things from a, nomenclature or, words that mean something, think of an initiative in Kapost as a high-level campaign. So that would be like SolidWorks launch. That would be SolidWorks World. That might be the designer to analyst launch in November, or the distributed data management one in December, or the ECAD. Those are initiatives. So those are high-level initiatives or campaigns that we tie individual assets and content to really build the program, if you will. So that's what an initiative is in Kapost. So when we say that, that's what it means. You'll see entrepreneurs, things like this. In full disclosure, the 2019 program initiatives have not been created yet. We are still working things out, trying to understand the sales and corporate objectives for this year to make sure we're aligned and creating things as appropriate. So more to come on that, and Lisa and Zainab, you'll have more information at SolidWorks World. Your content, you might not see any content in here. This is something, if you open it yourself and create something new, this is where your content will be. For the most part, you're going to be supporting Zainab and Lisa in their content, so you might not see anything there for yourself. In the middle is your tasks. So if Lisa and Zainab are doing their job correctly, and I reinforce this message whenever I can, they're going to assign you and a date to a specific workflow task in a piece of content, and those will all appear here. So my suggestion is for, individual content or for workflow steps, it might make sense to assign, when you have this task, to edit the task, and this is more for Lisa and again Zainab, to identify the individual, like Marco, please, it might say please review, and then instead you might edit that to say Marco, please review, and then you would assign the TTM, and then at least in the task list, the names will appear, so it's really clear, since you are sharing, that who needs to own or respond to what piece of content they're working on. So this will be, this might be critical for you guys to at least understand what the tasks are being assigned to the team. Now I get to the further right side. This is the activity feed. So this is essentially everything that's going on in Kapost that everybody's working on. So you'll see content listed here. If I have a notification that I need everybody to pay attention to, this is where I add it, and I'll say add message, and it'll appear in this top line here for everybody to see. I did this when we went with the merge. I did this post-merge when we were having some issues. So this is where I really communicate with everybody when there's a bigger information notification that I need everybody to read. And I'll do that with an email as well, but again, a way to make sure everybody knows. This is not the area that you should be adding messages to if you're specifically trying to talk to Lisa or Zainab. You do that in the individual asset, and we'll get more there. So this is more for my level of activity. Now I'm going to go to the left side navigation, and I'm going to toggle in and out here. This is where you can get to other locations. So I'm going to go ideas is an area where we can essentially, what's the word I'm looking for? We can essentially crowdsource, if you will, ideas. So if you're looking provide an idea to Lisa to say, hey, I've got this really great idea for a webinar, you could do that through the use of ideas. I'm not going to spend time here because a ton of time here, but you can do that where you submit it, and then you can, from here, we can approve or reject something, and then it will move itself into content. This is how we crowdsource case studies or even white papers with people, or VARs, where we'll send out like a link, which is tied to Kapost, where they fill it all out and everything will populate and come back here, and we can move it forward. This is also an area that I know Brian Zayas and his team is using to get content from TTMs into Kapost. You'll see these, Andrew Grow, etc. Alessandro, you must have submitted an idea. He must. So again, this is where it's all going, and then they're moving it through into content. So again, this is useful. As you'll see, different, Mike Spence. So people within the team are definitely leveraging this to get content into Kapost. Are there any questions and ideas right now? Okay. So I'm going to go to content. So this is the tab that you are going to want to spend a lot of your time on. So again, here is essentially the content library. If you go to content saved views, there are saved views, and I do have content I will add you to from a EuroMed content. So if you search, you should and will be able to see things. So you'll see all the different content that EuroMed team is working on. They have 748 pieces of content in this filter. And so a lot are email. My encouragement is to make sure that their local content is getting into Kapost. So if it's not just email, it's anything that you guys are working on or is in here as well. But this is where, there is a saved view you can search for here. But if not, you can just go to the, under all saved views, there's one that says all content. And if you select that, if you're looking for English content, you can start here, and then you can go into filters. So this allows you to filter by task or content details. So you might be looking for, I want to look for a data sheet. And then I want to look at a custom field. I want to look by product. So let's do manage. So I type in manage, and then I open here. Here's the SolidWorks manage data sheet in English. So this is how you can filter. You can obviously clear filters. You can also, so now I have data sheets. So these are all the data sheets in Kapost, and how they're found. So filtering is really important. You can, anything that we have a custom field on, you can filter on. So these are all different, assuming that everybody is tagging things and filling them out correctly. That's how we'll find content. So that's why it's super critical that we're filling out and making sure that custom fields are all filled out. So this is how you can sort and find content that you're looking for. You can also, this view can also change. So if you're looking for other columns that are identified here, so now I want to know what initiatives this might be tied to. So if I click that, it's going to update this view to include the initiative, which again, I'm not, it's probably not doing it because I don't have it selected. But you'll see initiatives in the far left or far right, I'm sorry. And here you'll see they're identified with an icon, and you can hover over them to see what they mean. You can also, again, you can remove things. But this, again, if you want to look at language, you can add language in here as a field. This might take a second to update, but then you'll see language listed here. And right now, the one caveat I will say is when we merged all instances, so we had the NAM instance, EMEA instance, and APAC instance, This is the unified instance. English was not, the NAM instance was not being tagged with English content, so it wasn't being, so we're in the process of doing a bulk update on English content, which is why it's a challenge right now to find English specific content. The geos did great in APAC and EMEA on doing that. We did not. So we are in that process. So all of these data sheets are in English, but you'll notice that the language field is not filled out here. So just a caveat there. So again, this is really important if you're looking to, make sure you have a view here. You can also and you can save this as a view. So you can create your own saved views based on content that the TTMs might be working on as well. Are there any questions on content on the view here? No? All right. Initiatives is a good place to go if you're looking at what does everything mean. So again, we might have launch, or we might have farm to glass, or there might be another campaign in here that you're like, what are we doing? What's corporate doing, and what's this mean? This is where you can go to find that information. So you can say, I'm going to go to the design to manufacturing 2018. There are 2 in here, and again, we need to consolidate because they're wrong. But this is all the content that's been tied globally, so all geos, to the design to manufacturing launch. If you go into the details tab, as you should for all of them, this is where all the details for each of the campaigns should live. Now, our team, the corporate brand team, is the one that's essentially creating the initiatives, and we're the ones building out the campaign in English for the geos to execute. As you'll see, I own launch, so that's my job in the content and the program. So what I've done is I've created an initial presentation that can be shared. So this is where the whole launch plan would exist. And these are where I, put the goals and objectives. How does this support what to market? What's the budget? How is this program going to be measured? What different assets will be created, et cetera, et cetera. So this is where you can find that information. This is where you could take that presentation, download it, repurpose it for your geo. I will say, our team as a whole is not amazing at making sure this information is in here. My encouragement to you is, if you're coming in here and you're like, I don't see anything, where is everything? Just find who owns it, and then you can come over here to the activity feed and just say, like I said, at mention, you could say, Allison, this is missing the presentation I can share. Where is it? I'm pretty direct. So again, and then you would hit post, and then what this is going to do is this is going to generate an email to me that's like, and I'm going to see it. I'm going to be like, oh crap, I didn't upload it. Or oh crap, it doesn't even exist. I got to create it. And then there's a digital footprint of that ask here as well. So again, this is a great way to, and I'm just going to delete it for the sake here, which you can. There's a digital footprint, and again, you can find out more information. Again, the content here is, if you want to see all the different types of content here, you can look at that. You can see if there are any ideas, which there aren't. And then analytics, this essentially will pull from Facebook, the gallery. It'll also look at YouTube. So the videos, all the videos for English have been published to our YouTube channel through Kapost. So it's able to pull in high-level metrics at this level. This does not replace Sprinkler. This does not replace any of the other tools for metrics, but it does give us an idea of how programs and individual content is performing, assuming we're publishing it from Kapost. Are there any questions on initiatives? No. Okay. The next, I'm going to skip tasks.
Sorry, Alison.
Yes.
Marcus speaking. Just a question. Can we see what material is shareable and ready to be distributed, or is not in our, in our profile to download and distribute any of this content?
That is a That is a loaded question, Marco. So here's the deal.
I mean, do you flag anything in the content container so that we can recognize if it's ready for general distribution or so?
It's a good question. So I don't know how to answer that, to be honest. And you've given me something to think about. So it's a great question. So here's the deal. When we create something in English, we it's finalized. So you can go into sort of the content view in Kapost. So at this level, and you could look at stages, and you can then say, okay, what's complete content? So this is going to now give me 7,000 plus pieces of content that are final, right? And now I want to look at, and this final content, now I just want to go in here and I want to filter, and I want to just look at maybe brochures, okay? And now I'm going to have all of these brochures, and for the most part, the brochures, the data sheets that you'll see in here right now, they're all English, because the geo content, localized content, the only thing that gets added to Kapost right now are emails, and that's because the geos are doing that themselves. But when things get localized, they're put on a server that's they're final, and they're already on the web and everything that comes completed in that way, but it doesn't get put into Kapost. So from a geo perspective, I am working on, it's one of my objectives and goals, to work with the localization team and the geos to see how we can get the localized content into Kapost. So to your point, we can share it. Right now we have email, but if you're looking for English content, the way to do that is what's shareable, what's available is in the gallery view. So when we publish something out, we try to make sure we add it to the gallery. There are rules. So if you go, and I'm jumping ahead and a little out of context here, but I'll spend a second in the gallery. If you go into the gallery, this is where we've created collections around, case studies, around white papers, around launch. We have images listed here, so you can find images. This is taking a little bit, I think, to load. So what it does is some of that stuff is downloadable, and you're only going to get the final asset. You'll get the final video, or in the case of a video, you won't be able to download the video, you'll be able to share it. Because one of the things that's an issue is taking a video and having a VAR also add it to their YouTube channel. They'll take the Italian version and they'll add it to their geo or their VAR YouTube channel. That hurts us. That does not do us any favors with Google or with YouTube when it comes to search and credibility. It actually harms us. If they take the video and they edit the video and make it a little bit different, then it's looked at as a completely new video, and they can do that and add it to the website, though we prefer that the VARs create their own individual content. So taking up some time here, this is what the gallery looks like, and this is essentially an area that is in the VRC. So you'll see that there are, blog articles. So if I click on this, what you'll notice is this is pulling from our current English blog, and you'll see that there is, if I look at more, this will bring it up in Kapost or in this view. But what this will also do, hopefully it'll populate in a second, it'll allow me to share it, and it'll populate into whatever you have set up for the TTM account. So you can share it by email, you can share it by Twitter, you can share it by Facebook, and I think LinkedIn is and then share it out to your platform. The thing is with you guys all sharing the account, I don't know who you're going to want to set that up with. So this is the Irby, illustrations, instructions, and manuals, right? So this is the published URL. So if I click this, this is going to take me to the WordPress blog. If I click the copy on the bit.ly one, I can then copy that and I can then share it out to whoever. And this will track how many people have clicked this link, and those are metrics we'll get back in Kapost. You can also share it here, and that's what I meant by Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, email. This copies it, and you can select it, and then it'll take, it'll put it in an email and send it out, or it'll put it on your Facebook page. But you can copy this link and do the same thing, and then we'll be able to capture metrics. So the answer to that, the convoluted answer to your question is, there is no, the way you would search for finished content is really to look and see what's in the gallery that's been approved. And we've identified that some will have a share button, some will have a download button, some will have both, or some will have none. And what that means is the only people, if it has none, the only people who can look at it are going to be the people with a license, so internal. And then if you see a share button, that you can share it, obviously. So you can find that content in gallery. And that's only right now going to be English content.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I promise you, like I said, we're working on trying to make sure that we get this built out, these galleries for the rest of the geos and the groups, so you guys will have your localized content in here. But right now, this is only English content, and you'll see, if you're looking for images, you can see those here. If you're looking for, I have, training things for launch, there's assets in here. These assets are predominantly English as well, because the geos, again, don't have their content and they're not publishing content. The only way to get content into these collections and into the gallery or into any shared view is by publishing it. And I'll go over that in a few minutes. So I'm going to go back into Studio because I want to make sure I get through everything. The next one's the calendar. And this is something that there is a shared calendar. I'll add you guys and your username to it. But there is a EuroMed outbound calendar that's been created. This calendar was submitted, so it will be available in the VRC for the EuroMed VARs to see what's going on in EuroMed from an outbound perspective. So this gives you an idea of the email that's happening. It should also give you an idea if there are webinars that are happening, but I don't see those listed here. So if they're, what the frequency is on email, etc., this will give you an idea of what everything is. From here, you can click on it. You can get an idea of what the final HTML looks like, what's going out. You can also come here. You can look at the custom fields to see what, what language this is supporting. So I see you do some English, the target, etc., what the calls to action, how this is, and what's important to the VARs too is this is what's going to appear to them, right? They're going to get the campaign name, and they'll be able to see what this email is. And unfortunately, the only way to see what this email is if it's been published. And Lisa, we have a separate meeting to go over that too. So again, this will just give you an idea.
Yeah, thanks.
Yep, this will just give you an idea of what's going on, how it aligns, etc., so you guys know what's happening. The VARs will be able to see this as well. So this is the calendar view. You can individually create your own views based on, if you want a calendar view on your tasks, you can do that as well in this area. Are there any questions right now on the calendar views? No? All right. So now I'm going to ask Lisa a question because I want to make sure I'm covering exactly what you want. What is it that you're going to be asking the TTMs to support you with? So I can go over the workflow in those specific content types.
So we usually work together for webinars.
Yep.
I think that's the main field.
Okay. All right. So I am going to create a test. So when you're creating new content, this create button is always at the top. For the most part, you aren't going to be asked to create anything new, and until you get comfortable with it, or Lisa gives you more training, or I give you more training, this isn't where you're going to be doing. Lisa or Zainab will come in and they'll create it. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to create a test EuroMed webinar. The type is obviously webinar, so I'm going to select webinar. And then everything's tied to an initiative. So in this case, I'm going to select 2D to 3D. And then I'm going to hit create. So think of this as what Lisa or Zainab would be doing. So then you come in to this webinar here. Now, think of this as like an online form catch-all for everything. This is where everything related to the webinar is going to live. So Lisa would be assigned as the owner here. This is the title of the webinar. This is also for Lisa as well. This is the title that's going to appear on YouTube later. So if you want this to be published out to YouTube so you can share the webinar or so you can put it on the Italian website later, this is what you want to make sure that the webinar title is what you want it to appear in those locations. So again, webinar, usually I ask for a little brief summary of what this webinar is going to be about. You can put that here. So I'll focus on the custom fields first. So this, in order to find content in Kapost, it's all based on what I've been lovingly referring to these custom fields. So everything under general content requirements is, for the most part, mandatory. So in this case, I'm going to select EuroMed for the geo. Language, I'm going to select Italian. The target audience, this is where you can help Lisa as well, is who are we targeting? Well, let's just say in generic sense, customers and prospects. This target audience in this case is really high level. And then think of target job functions. So of our customers, of our prospects, what are the job functions we're targeting? All right, we're targeting a CAD user, we're design and engineering, maybe I'm targeting an industrial designer, and that's it. So those are the target job functions. Distribution channels. Well, this is a webinar, so we've got that going here. How else are we promoting this webinar? Are we on Facebook with it? So social Facebook, which is our owned channel, or are we paying for it? So we'll say so for that in this sake. There's a whole bunch here. You feel free to select all that apply. The department business unit responsible, so if Lisa or Zainab are setting this up, they're going to be selecting PS channel. And that's all that needs to be listed here. The original content year, so this means different things to different groups. For the sake of what we're creating, this means the actual so this webinar is taking place in 2019. If you're doing TTM content specific, like a technical presentation or the digital technical sales demo or something, this actually would be what's the year for the software you're using. So is that going to be 2018? Is that 2019 that you're creating it off of? So again, it means different things to different content types. Is this a competitive piece? We're still trying to build this list, so this is to come, so there's nothing there now. Persona and buying stage, we're in the process of moving this to where you see it now. So get in the practice of filling these out, but these are based on our, our personas. And if you need a refresher on those personas, I'm sure Lisa probably has a presentation or I can share with you. Buying stage, again, this is mandatory. It doesn't have the asterisks. We need to add that, but we will. What buying stage? So is this, if it's for customers, we assume they're using it, maybe they're repurchasing, we want them to, or maybe if it's a, customer or prospect, it's more the awareness or purchasing stage. So you can select multiple. If it supports a specific industry, these align to the DS industries now, so please select the one that applies. These are where keywords are. For webinars and videos in particular, this serves two purposes. It serves the purpose of making sure that these keywords get in YouTube. So think of it this way. If I were looking for this video, what keywords would I use to help me find it? And it may not be the title of this webinar. Maybe that's an internal name or something, but it shouldn't be. But again, this is why keywords are important. Then we have additional information. If there's anything you need to, about this webinar or et cetera, you can add that in the additional information. The next one is really important as well. We are in the process, and this will be done before SolidWorks World, of where we get the YouTube connected to a video content. So there'll be specific Italian video or a specific Italian even webinar where you go in and this will be connected. So when we publish, it'll go directly to your YouTube channel. So filling this out will be key. So is it listed, is it unlisted, or is it private? So listed is for the most part. If there's a specific date in the future that you need this to go live, you can put that here. It's important that we add a YouTube description. So I usually ask even our TTMs or our digital team, if they're creating video or even webinar content for us, to help us put a description here in your local language. So all of this can be, if this is hitting a playlist, so this will be aligned to the YouTube channel playlist. We have webinars is specific here for English, so I'd encourage, I'm not sure if you do that for yours. And then categories, for the most part, I'm pretty sure it's always science and technology, so whatever that means in your language. And then additional requirements.
Sorry, Alison, I have a question. Yeah. Alessandro Bellini has his own YouTube channel. So could we link certain webinars to one specific channel, which is not SolidWorks Italy channel, for example?
I think the answer is yes. There can be two, but I don't know. I don't know, because this has to hook into one account. I don't know that you can do it in two. You might.
Okay.
But I'm not sure. So I'll need to ask Kapost.
So not via Kapost. Right. Okay. Great. Thanks.
You're welcome. The next one, additional requirements. So anything with an asterisk is required, but you can, if you're not paying attention, you can according these up. But marketing purpose is this, for lead gen. What webinar categories? So this is for future, if we're going to use this on the website, where this really falls. Is this going to be listed as a webinar on demand? Who's presenting this webinar and what that URL is for that webinar? So this is so everything up here under general requirements is a custom field you'll see across all content types. When you get lower, you'll see only ones that are specific to this content type. So again, additional requirements, filling this out, best practices, yes, we want this to be a webinar on demand, who is this as a presenter and whatever. So this can be, a lot of this is all Lisa filling this out. Website requirements, I'm not going to spend a ton of time here yet, because these are going to be, this is different for English versus the other geos, and how getting content on the website is going to be handled, because I don't think they're even trained yet. CBIL requirements, again, you guys won't have to pay any attention to this, but these are also required for getting the leads from the webinar into Kapost, into CBIL. And this is where that's all facilitated from. So filling this out, Lisa and Zainab will be able to do. Is this localized? For the most part, for you guys, you won't need to do that. But then you get to geo requirements. So when we get to EuroMed, Lisa or Zainab will be selecting the countries that this is being promoted to. So all that apply here. Legacy content you won't need to worry about. And then you'll see buying stage and persona down here as well. It's moving. This is going to go up to the top, so you won't need to worry about that. But this is where you can, again, change, relate content like an email to this, etc. So this is just a high level of the requirements. So if you can help them out with, identifying some of these custom fields where it might make sense because you might know your video or your content more, you can do that. Are there any questions on the custom fields? I know it's a lot. Okay, so then we get to the workflow steps in the left or the right-hand side where, again, Lisa and Zainab are going to be setting this up. You guys are really supporting them by adding things in here or completing a couple of things for them to help them facilitate this. So they're going to set up the content. The execution date is the date the webinar is happening. So this, in order for it to show up on the calendar, there needs to be a date here for when it's happening. So if it's on, the 30th, you'll see that at 5 p.m. The geography is also what identifies in the custom field which calendar it gets associated with. So again, that needs to be filled out. So if you're missing something on your calendar, that's why those are not there. The next one is, so once these are done, the rest of these custom fields are these workflow steps are really what facilitates getting things into Siebel. So you don't really have to worry about that. But here, where it says add final webinar files, the recording, and the Excel file, etc., this is where you might be two people, the TTM in EuroMed, which is right here, that's you guys, and then maybe Lisa owns this, right? So I save this here. This now appears in your task list on the home page. And oh, I forgot to put a date. So now I need to assign a date to this. So now I'm going to assign the 31st. So now you have a date. This is all done. So what this means is you have the recording of the webinar, right? You're recording the webinar. This is where you would add the video right here under add video. So make sure the video is listed here. So this is your final MP4 file of the webinar list here. We also ask that you include the PowerPoint presentation if you're showing one. Obviously, you might be showing a demo, but I'm sure you have PowerPoint slides that accompany it. Under supporting attachments, so if you click add video here, you'll see you could do that through Dropbox or Box, or just drag and drop in here. It takes a little while. Those files are probably big, so don't be alarmed if it's taking longer than necessary, depending on your connection. And then the same thing, under supporting attachments, this is where you would add your PowerPoint file. So again, you just select from your thing here, wherever you need to go, and you would just type your file and it would show up here. If you are iterating on something or you want somebody to review your PowerPoint, you can add that in here and you can iterate on that and keep uploading different versions. This is also where Lisa or Zainab or whoever is supporting them, if they need the final Excel file of the attendees from GoToWebinar, they add that here under supporting attachments as well. And then I'm not going to spend time on the rest of the workflow steps, but this essentially would follow where, Lisa or Zainab will work with CRMIT to get them uploaded into Siebel. Are there any questions as it relates to like your responsibility in Kapost? And Lisa, if I forgot anything or you're asking them to do anything more, let me know.
No, I just think this is really nice, Alison. Maybe it's actually more than what TTMs will actually do, but it's good for everybody to have a good overview of the tool and the, we cannot call it platform, the
operating system. That's what I'm trying to say. One of the things I do ask is if you are assigned to a task in the workflow, Lisa probably thinks I'm a broken record. I am check the box. So Lisa sets up the content. The execution date has passed, so she checks that off. Now you're uploading the final file. So now you're assigned. So Marco, you are assigned to this. So maybe she's come in here and she's edited this so it says Marco, and she saves it. So now it's listed, Marco, add the final of the webinar, whatever. When you come back in here and you've uploaded and added what's necessary here, check the box. And then it's going to move to the next one, and maybe Lisa does whatever she needs to do. But what you also asked to do is under activities, so I didn't spend time here. It's the same anywhere. So whether you are in the initiative, which I showed you as well, this where you mention Lisa and say, I've added the webinar file and PowerPoint here. And then what's going to happen is I post that. Lisa's going to get an email. She'll be able to come right back in here and move everything through and forward again. So all I'm asking is if you've been assigned to a task and you've added and done what she's been asked, check the box. And for Lisa, even if you don't have any of these steps that you're like, whatever, just check all the boxes and then move it from complete, and then we're done. So that's webinar. Is there anything else, Lisa, at this time that you want the TTMs to know about?
Maybe something but you've already showed something like that. It's now we have we've been having the launch broken down into a host of waves for a couple of years, and it takes a certain time for us to have contents localized in Italian and Turkish. So it's interesting for everybody to go to Kapost and see the contents in advance that are available in the English language.
Yes.
So, for example, for design to analyst, we would type design to analyst as you've shown, right? I think that's another use of Kapost TTMs are interested in.
So, okay, so to Lisa's point, and I think I did touch on this a little bit, but if you go into the content library and you want to find English content, and again, let me stress this for 1 second, everything that was in the NAM instance is not yet tagged with English as a language. So for you to do a search right now on English content, it's not going to be accurate, because not all, we're talking 6,000 pieces plus of content that was in the NAM instance not tagged with English content, or English is the language. So it's not going to be an accurate assessment of that. That being said, what you can do is, knowing that, brochures, knowing that data sheets right now are the only thing in English that's in Kapost, because none of the geos have those pieces of content in here. You can go to the content tab, as I have, make sure you're in the all content default view, and then select filters where you can look based on content type. You can look based on initiatives. So if you're looking, and this is the only thing I'm not a fan of, is it doesn't give you the full name here, but when you type it in, it does. So now I can say, okay, SolidWorks launch design to manufacture. This is going to say any content tied with this initiative is going to be listed here. So now, and that's across all languages. So what's going to be helpful eventually is that you can then go into the custom fields and you can search, you can find language, which I can't find. Where's that? But filter by language. And if you type in English, you'll see, if it's not tied, you're not going to see much content. There's only 43 assets. Rest assured, there are a lot more assets tied to launch than 43. But if you, again, go into the gallery, I've created a SolidWorks 2019 launch content, and these are all the launch assets in English that were tied to it. And again, you can search here by content type. You can search by product, you can search by persona or job function to get what you want. And again, you're able to download it, you're able to share it, and you can select on one asset It's going to load content here. And then you'll see you have the share button and you have the download button. So you'll be able to download this asset, or you can even share it. And if you want to know how it's tagged, you can see all the different custom fields. So there's multiple ways to find what you're looking for. You can start in the gallery because that's what's going to be shareable for the most part. You can also, and you can also go and do in Studio and go into the content tab here and filter by initiative, by content type, by product, and language. And you can, but like I said, it's making things a little challenging right now because none of the NAM content was tagged with English. But when it is, you'll get a better representation of, like, I want to look at all data sheets in English for CAD. And you'll see what's, obviously SolidWorks data sheet or whatever. You might see design to manufacture listed. So you'll get a preview of what that looks like, and you can see that in Kapost before you're going to review or look at something. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I took, an hour and 15, so I wanted to book more just to make sure we had questions and things, but I'm glad we did. If there's any questions as you guys are using this or coming into issues, Lisa, bring them to my attention. You guys can reach out to me directly. What I'm going to try and do is, and it might make sense, is Lisa, start taking notes if there are issues, and then we can address them at SolidWorks World because we have a session dedicated for Kapost.
Alison,
Yes.
it's Marco again. Just before you close, if you go back to the ideas section,
Yeah.
and I see that many of my colleagues already posted something. Is there ideas is just an idea, so there's nothing.
No. So what it is, so it's not.
There's no
nothing.
project for that already, right?
No, it is. So basically, what it does is, let me show you. So
can we add ideas, right?
you can't. So here's the thing. What Brian and them have done is they have a content link for. Let me find it. Hold on. I have to. Here we go. All right. Let me. I'm going to sign out for a second, and then I'm going to. So what Brian and his team have done is they send this link out. So this could be sent out. This is a technical sales content type that they send out. So you would fill in your name here, right? And then I'll just do it this way. And I filled this out, and now it opens this all up. And this is a new idea. So it's tech sales content that's pre-selected. But anything that we're sort of crowdsourcing for, you could select a case study, a presentation, a tech sales video, or a white paper. So this is a general piece of content. You can type in, that this is a MBD demo for customers, right? You would add in, or maybe it's not. Maybe in this case, it's, I don't even know. I'll just say it's a flyer, MBD flyer for customers you created, right? So say you did that, and then you add the attachment here, and then you fill out everything here. So let's say I'm going to, I fill out geography, EuroMed. I'm just going to do this so Brian and them don't. So I'm going to say Italian, and then I'm going to say MBD, and then target audience, MBD, customers, job function, manufacturing, distribution, whatever. I'm going to say the block, whatever. So you fill this out. There is tech sales as a department unit responsible. You've created this using SolidWorks 2019. You have some keywords here. Tech sales content type. maybe this is a script or a Camtasia project or file set or whatever. You select that here. You pick EuroMed, so you pick your countries. So now I hit submit. And I didn't fill out keywords, but I can continue anyway. So now this is going to submitted. Thank you for your submission. So now I'm going to sign into Kapost. And I am going to go to ideas. And this is where my ideas come in. It's right here. And what Brian and them do is they come in and they'll look at this and they'll they'll say, okay, whatever, you've got your files in here. And then they're going to approve or reject it. So if they approve it, essentially what this is going to do is this moves it into a content type, text sales content, where now it's got the workflow and now it's in Kapost. So your attachment would be here. All your custom fields have come through, etc. The title, the file, and then what they're going to do is they're either going to publish it, so they're going to put it out in the gallery in their text sales collection. They'll mark it as complete, so they'll set this up, etc. This is how we crowdsource not just what the tech content, but also the case studies from VARs or even the field. If you have an idea for a customer, it's the same thing. But since you guys have license or a shared license now, you can create an idea, because I know Brian and his team like reviewing everything before they move it forward. So that's why they don't want it just being set up in the content. It's easier to come in as an idea so they can figure and so they can move it through that process. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Yes. So the idea is something it's already done. So it's not the start of a project. If I have material to share, then I can ask Brian to send me the link to create the idea, and then someone else, Brian or anyone, will approve it.
Correct. Right? What you can do, though, because
so,
you guys are all sharing a license, you could, and it would do the same thing. You create it, and instead of in the create button, instead of creating content, you create an idea. So then you come here, and you'd add your new idea, and you just find the text sales content type, write your name of your idea, topic, whatever, write your idea, and then if you hit create, this is going to open up an idea, just like you would, except it's not that form. You're already in Kapost, you already have a license. You could do all of that here, again, and I'm just going to have test. And if you hit submit, I'm going to continue because I'm going to delete them in a minute anyway. If you do it here, it lists it here, but if you go into the idea tab, you're going to see that right here again. So you don't have to use the link anymore. You can just create the idea in Kapost directly by using this idea tab here. And
all right.
And again, when you're in this area, the type, you want to make sure for the Brian team and the content you have that you are selecting tech sales content here. Okay? And then, all right, I'm going to reject. And I'm going to reject. Oh, cancel. Oh, I approved that, but I'm going to delete it. So are there any other questions as it relates to what I showed you today? No? All right. Well, I don't have anything else. I am going to stop presenting, and I will get this into Kapost. I also put this in YouTube. We have a separate playlist for Kapost training. So for those unable to have attended or need a reference, we'll make sure it's available. And Lisa, I'll share that once I get it uploaded. But I actually have to drive into Waltham now, so I have a 2-hour ride. But if you have any questions whatsoever, just shoot me an email or start with Lisa first, and if she doesn't know, then you can certainly ask me, and as we start getting more and more entrenched in what's in from a geo perspective in here, we can start, doing more. But I don't think we're asking a ton at this point. So just more support than anything else. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. I appreciate it. And have a good rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Alison. Bye-bye.
Bye, dear Lisa.
Goodbye.
Bye.